This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you in part by Xero. Xero is a powerful cloud accounting software that improves efficiencies across your practice. With all client data stored on a single unified ledger, you and your clients can easily access and collaborate on the same set of books. Xero's advisor tools and automation solutions reduce time-consuming manual tasks and put data entry on autopilot. Work faster and more efficiently than ever before with Xero. Visit xero.com/accounting insiders to learn more. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast. My name is Gary DeHart. I'm the host of Accounting Insiders and the publisher and managing partner of Insightful Accountant and Tax Practice News. My guest today is Janel Sykora, who is actually on our website because Janel does our marketing talks for us. We still have you listed under, we still have Cajabra. No, we have Cajabra, right? You're the founder of Cajabra. But then is Thought Leader Creative still around or no?
It is. Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
still around.
Or,
Okay.
yeah, it is. It is. It's really kind of run by Cajabra. So you'll find me either place. If you go to thoughtleadercreative.com, it's going to route you to Cajabra.
Okay. Very good. And you go by the founder, co-founder. What's the
title? Co-founder and chief marketing guru. I've been called, so we just like the fun titles. Yeah.
Right. And your history is marketing with a heavy focus in accounting, right?
Correct. Sales specifically. Most of my background has been in sales, so I've got that revenue DNA. So I believe that marketing needs to drive revenue, and that is my history, is working specifically with accounting firms.
Okay. Well, perfect. So that kind of lays the groundwork for today's discussion, which we're going to be talking about marketing in general. We're going to hit some specifics on marketing during tax season and how to take advantage of that great opportunity that firms have before them, right? They've got pretty captive audience there while they're working with somebody on their taxes. But also we want to touch on the importance of year-round marketing. Marketing is not a one thing and one and done. Marketing is an ongoing process. It's an ongoing part of your business, and some of it can be turnkey, some of it can be somewhat set and forget. But I think really from this conversation, we just want to impress upon the audience that, hey, marketing is critical to your success and critical to your growth. We're not very good at marketing ourselves for a very long time, and then I would say within the past 8 months have gotten into a much better cadence of consistently putting something out there. And it's nothing, it's not rocket science. It's about being there, being present, and we're seeing results from it. And again, we're not doing anything super fancy. So you didn't come on to hear me talk. I brought you on so that you could talk. So I'm going to stop right there and ask you the question around marketing during tax time. So I'm going to put on a CPA hat. I'm not a CPA. I'm not an accountant. But for this example, I'm already working 60 hours a week. Janel, how can I possibly market during tax season? And why would I want to? I'm already so busy.
Okay, that's a loaded question. Let's pull back the layers of that onion. First of all, you're super, super busy as a CPA during tax season, but that isn't unique just to CPAs during tax season. I think all business owners can get overwhelmed, right? I think what you first have to think about is you're a business owner, and you can't just ghost for, from February 1st through April 15th and then expect to pick up afterwards. What's going to happen is you're going to burn out, your whole team is going to burn out, and you're going to lose momentum. And I'm sure that you have heard the saying of, working on your business instead of working in your business. That's so cliche and overused now. But I think that it is incredibly important to book some time on your calendar to focus on like rising above the minutia of your business and doing something to market and sell. Even during tax season, it's possible. I've had many weeks where I've worked 80 hours a week. But what happens is, if you go down in the trenches and you just work, you're A, going to get burned out, like I said, but then B, you're going to come up for air and find out that your revenue is going down, right? Your revenue shouldn't just be during tax season. It should be a more even stream throughout the year. And that's not going to happen if you don't give some attention to marketing. So the second answer, or the second layer, is I've got more business than I know what to do with. And I've heard that before. But most of the time when I hear that, it's from CPA firms who are churning and burning tax returns at commodity prices.
Mm.
And they have more business than they want or know what to do with. But is that the business they really want? Is the question that I typically ask, because what are you doing that's not commodity there? What value are you adding? Or are you giving away too much of your expertise for free at that point? Because I would guarantee that these CPAs who are still, in the office at 8 o'clock at night are also answering emails from people who had a quick question, and we know
Right.
how these go, right? So I think that I would ask, if you are so busy that you don't want any more business, there's one of two things going on. Either you've got all this commodity business and you're giving away a lot of your expertise for free, or you've got processes that aren't set up correctly or inefficient processes. So yeah, at that juncture, you need to make a choice to change. Otherwise, you're choosing to be busy and stay the same.
Right. And so actually that's a really good point, because some people might be like, hey, you know what? I work from, January through
Mhm.
May and
Yeah.
I kill it, and then I kind of coast the rest of the year. And that's fine if that's
Yeah.
what your business model is and how you want to run your business. And that's fine. But if your growth mindset, I think the biggest point of what you just said is you got to get out of the weeds, right? You got to get out of that minutia. And so how do I do that? So let's say I listen to this conversation and I'm like, wow, they're right. I do have to get out of the minutia, but how do I do it? I'm a small firm.
Yeah. So a couple of ways. One, I'm a huge proponent of scheduling time, like time blocking on your calendar. And you might say to me, well, Janelle, I don't have time. I've got, these couple hundred tax returns I have to do. You're going to have to prioritize your time. So time block on your calendar. And then what would I do with that first time block? If I'm an accountant that has more business than I know what to do with, the first thing I would do is I would take that time block, let's say it's 30 minutes or an hour, and I would sit down. Right now, you're in tax season, you have a captive audience. This is your best time to sell. And I know sell is like the ugly word, right? But what you should be doing for that first time block is sit down and make a list of all of the clients you have in your database that you could potentially upsell, right? The ones that you're just doing compliance work for, that you could be doing so much more for, whether that's some sort of an advisory engagement, whether that's a monthly retainer for doing their bookkeeping and then meeting with them a couple of times a year to do tax planning or projections, or review financial statements or do benchmarking, anything like that. I would say that that's one thing that you can do with your time blocking is to be able to identify those clients that you can upsell to.
Mhm.
And then I think another thing that you can do, and I had this conversation with a client this morning, identify packages. What is it? If you're going to upsell them, you need to be really clear on what you're going to tell them to do, what you want to upsell them to. So it's not just, okay, now I want your bookkeeping every month. It's, what are you going to package up in terms of services? What's that going to look like for you? Is it going to be your basic, I'll sell you compliance, but my tax rates are going up next year? And then maybe you've got a middle package and then a higher package, or maybe you just have two. But just be really clear on that. Those are some things that you can do just by putting 30 minutes on your calendar or an hour on your calendar, to be strategic for the benefit of your business. Because what's going to happen is you're in the thick of it right now. You've got emails, you've got phone calls, everything else. And this is when you can really be identifying those clients that you want to do more business with. And what you can do is you can set up a meeting with them post tax season. So right now, for example, if you're meeting with someone and you're like, oh man, this would be a perfect client to be able to do some planning and projections for at the end of the year. Maybe I want to take over their bookkeeping, whatever else I want to provide them. Then during the tax meeting, when you actually deliver the tax return, you can explain to them, this is what I'm doing post tax season. I'd like to schedule some time together for us to get together, because I want to show you exactly what I can do for your business. The tax return is just part of the whole process, and really it should just be a result of everything we do together all year long.
Mm.
And if they can schedule those meetings while they still have the attention of the client now, you're going to see a steadier stream of revenue versus those peaks and valleys, if that's the kind of business you want. I know there are some people who just kill it during tax season and take the rest
Right.
of the year off, and that's fine too.
Yeah. Which sounds okay. That doesn't sound awful.
Yeah, I know.
Um, but you must really kill it right during tax season. Got to
Yeah.
kill it during tax season.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that sounds all good. And now I'm still Gary CPA. So that
Mhm.
sounds good, Janelle. But I mean, I'm a one, maybe two person shop,
Mhm.
and I still have to do these tax returns during tax season. And you're asking me to give up an hour,
Mhm.
couple of hours, maybe even across tax season. We might be talking about 8 or 10 hours during tax season.
Yep.
Um, so I just have to do it, right? I mean,
Well,
at
my
some
question,
point,
you do. And I
yeah.
actually had this identical meeting with a client this morning. We've been meeting for a while to discuss, and very similar situation. And I would recommend, first of all, do you want to grow your business with profitable work, not
Mm,
commodity work? If the answer is yes, then what you need to do is, yeah, you might be a one-man show, but you've got to look at buying your time back. There is a book out there. I cannot remember who the author is. It's called Buy Your Time Back, and it's
mm,
outstanding. And
I've never heard of that one.
what you need to think about is buying your time back. And maybe what that looks like is getting a VA that can help filter all of your emails, set up an alias email, tax at whatever your firm is, have, let your clients know, give them a tax season update, send out a mass email to everyone and say, hey, tax season update, need to have all your documents in by March 15th or whatever your date is, or it's going to be an automatic extension. Here's how that works. It's not a bad thing, but here's how it works. And oh, by the way, any questions you've got, send them to tax at, and we will get back to you within whatever your service level time is,
Right.
48 hours, 72. And then have a VA monitor that email. That will take a huge amount of time off your plate. Use things like Loom or BombBomb. There's lots of different apps out there too, where instead of playing phone tag and email tag with people, use apps like that to be able to review quick little tax returns and get it off your plate. Um, Another thing that you can do is hire a couple of interns. Even college interns who have zero experience can help take some things off your plate. If you invest a little bit of time teaching them how to do just some basic data entry for tax returns, it's going to take a ton of time off your plate. So if you buy your time back in that way, that should free up time for you to be a little bit more strategic about your business coming
Yep.
out of tax season.
Okay. So let's go back to the apps. You said Loom and what was it called? Boom,
Another one is BombBomb.
Bum Bum. They do basically the same thing.
Yes, very,
All
very
right.
simple. Mhm.
So just for people who don't know, what is Loom and what is Bum Bum?
Yeah, so essentially, now I don't use BombBomb. I have clients that do and they love it. I use
Okay.
Loom. Essentially, they're very similar. Loom has a Chrome extension. It's got a free version or a paid version. The free version allows you to record up to 5 minutes of a video. So what you can do if you have it in your Chrome extension is you click the little, purple gear, which is what it is, and it starts. It gives you a countdown, 3, 2, 1. And you can choose to show your whole screen. You can choose to show just a tab, whatever. And then it shows like a little circle of you down in the corner. So it looks like you're really interacting. And maybe you're
Right.
showing them your screen and that's the results of their tax return. And you're pointing out a few things that maybe they expected or maybe they didn't expect. And the beauty of Loom is that in just 5 minutes or less, you're having a conversation with clients, not a two-way, but a one-way. People love it. Every firm that I've worked with that uses Loom or BombBomb gets phenomenal feedback from
Mm,
clients because it helps them really understand versus typing out an email. And it's far more personal as well.
right.
And then another way that I would leverage that is if you've got a client where it's that compliance client that they had some surprises. They weren't expecting to owe this much. That happens every year. No one wants surprises. This is an opportunity for you to look them straight in the eye and say, you don't want your tax return to be a surprise. It should never be a surprise.
Mm,
We need to get together starting in June. We need to create a plan so that as we work together, this is not going to happen again for you next year. And then you're upselling the client.
right. Now, what about security? Do any security issues with that?
That's a great question. I am not well versed on the security of either of those.
Yeah.
However, I do know multiple firms that use both Loom
Hmm.
and BombBomb. So I would assume that the security level is fairly good.
Right. Because are you sharing that link through an email or are you sharing it
Are.
through within Loom?
Um, you share the link through an email, or I suppose you could also share it. Um, No, you don't share it within the app. You would share it through
Okay.
email. Suppose you could upload a link to your secure portal too. If
Right.
you have a secure portal that you want to use, you could do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
also, they're also great tools for just internal training
Oh yeah.
and things like that as well, right? It's like you do a short, hey, here's how you do it. And if you, it's going to be in the resource guide. Here's the
In
resource guide.
Yeah, in fact, if you're hiring a VA and you're buying your time back, or you're hiring some interns and they're not there locally with you, that is the best tool. I have VAs, and that's exactly what I use to train them on things that I need them to do. So
Yeah.
super powerful tool for training as well as helping your clients.
Yeah. And we have two, and the both in the Philippines, and it's phenomenal. It's
Hmm.
an amazing amount of work that they can do, high work ethic, great attention to detail
Absolutely.
in most cases, and really show up ready to work, right?
Yeah,
And
we do as well. And they work on our time zone. And the quality of work is just impeccable.
yep,
And the attitude and the positivity is second to none. So I
right.
love it. Hmm.
Yep. All right. And so I mentioned in the intro, you do our marketing talks, or you host our marketing talks series for us. And what you've done, you started in October. And sorry, I'm looking up here because I'm reading the list of what we did on my screen here. So in October, we started with what is a brand and where do you start? Then we went into identifying your ideal clients, managing the tire kickers, and setting expectation with prospects. And then in last month, actually, I'm going to hold off. This month, you're doing, let's talk about your website and how to
Mhm.
update it. But last month, you said out of the four that you've done so far, it was around the Google business profiles, which you talked about in January, and you had a lot of interest. And in your opinion, um, that's the first place to start, is in
Mhm.
that Google business profile. Why is
Absolutely.
that? Why is it important? And then how does it tie into what you're talking about this month? And that is your website
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
marketing.
Yeah, so I usually tell people when I'm talking with clients that we're just getting started, I always tell people the most important thing that you can do when you're just getting started in marketing. If you're an accountant, you're not going to know anything about marketing, and that's okay. I'm in marketing. You don't want me doing your tax return, right?
Right.
That's okay. So outsource those things that you're not good at to someone who is very good at them. But the first thing in marketing that you have to do is lay that foundation. The foundation starts with messaging. Your messaging is absolutely critical. That's number one. You have to have a website and you have to have a Google business profile. Those are close seconds. The Google business profile, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And it is really a free way to improve your SEO. Um, the Google business profile, there was a study out recently that said that businesses with a Google business profile are 94% more likely to be viewed as reputable. And that's super important. I mean, if you think about accountants and bookkeepers these days, there are what, 316,000 bookkeeping firms and payroll firms, and there are 46,000 plus CPA firms. That's a lot.
Yeah.
How do you stand out in that sea of sameness, right? You have to stand out by differentiating yourself. You start with your message, but you also have to go out there and claim your Google business profile because it tells Google that you're an active, engaged business. And I'm always surprised at the number of small firms, especially that I've talked to, that had no idea if they have one or how to claim it. And it's critical on the Google business profile. Um, you put things like your hours. You can put frequently asked questions out there. You can allow people to ask questions that you can answer. You can post out there almost like a social media post.
Okay.
Um, you can you can do other things like show whether you're, if you're have some accessibility in your business. Reviews are absolutely crucial, and if you have more than 10 reviews, Google will really start to take note.
Hmm.
And what you want to do is you never want to have Google flooded with a ton of reviews all at once, because Google's smart and they're going to understand that. What you want to do is set up an automated way to get reviews trickling in on a regular basis. But my point in telling you all of this is that on the Google business profile, it is free, but it is also something that you've got to update on a regular basis so
Okay.
that Google continues to get that signal that you're an active business that they're going to want to serve up to people who are searching, because those are their customers.
And what's regular? What is a regular basis?
You know, you don't, there's
I know,
not
I'm
really
sure Google hasn't, yeah, Google doesn't say do this every 21 days, but
yeah,
like in your
yeah.
opinion, I mean, what do you recommend your clients?
I think you definitely need to have something new out there on Google, minimum of once a month, minimum.
Okay.
I often tell people too, when you're doing blog posts and you're posting those to your website, post them to Google as well. That's an update. If you're closing like post-tax season, make that, put that on Google, put photos on there. You can actually upload videos as long as they're under 30 seconds. You can upload videos. The Google business profile, they love photos. So highly recommend doing photos. You can put your products and services on there. Even creating little product and service cards in Canva is a really good idea, and putting those out there. The sky's the limit. It's just like a free website, essentially. It's what it is.
Right.
But it's very important to keep it optimized.
Yeah. So Google business profile, number one,
Mhm.
and you have to update it. So now I'm putting back my hat, my Gary CPA hat on. And again, I'm with you. You don't want me doing your taxes. Um, so now, Janelle, you're telling me I've got to take time out of my day to plan for my future, which we should all be doing anyway. But now I also have to update my Google business profile.
Mhm.
You're killing me. I already
I
just told you I'm
know.
working 80 hours a week.
Yeah. And I think I would say, well, Gary, how are you, do you love working 80 hours a week? Is that all
Right.
business that you want? Is it super high profit business? If it's not, if any of those answers are no, then take a step back, take a big deep breath, think about how you can buy some of your time back, and carve out a little bit of time to focus on your marketing. And if that's something that overwhelms you, because if someone told me I had to do my tax return, I'd be like, oh my God, no way.
Right.
I don't know what I would do. I know it wouldn't be right. Then, find somebody who can help you and know what your budget is.
Yeah.
And find someone who can help you prioritize, if you are not on a huge budget, what you need to do first and second and third, and how to prioritize that so that you can get the best results for what money that you do have.
Right. All right. So good point. Know your budget. What should my budget be? Percentage? Is there a rule of thumb?
There, it just depends on what your goals are, right? If your goals are, I've got so much business and it's all high profit business, retainer business, and I just want to keep this content engine going and my awareness going so that I continue to attract that. You're going to probably be spending less than if you want to really grow your business. It just depends. If you've got, if you want to add $1 million of net new profitable revenue to your business this year, you're going to be spending a lot more.
Mhm.
Um, you know, Sometimes upwards of 10% of your revenue can be spent on marketing. So I would recommend, you definitely need to invest in marketing, just like a small business owner should be investing in a good accountant. It's absolutely essential to your business. I don't have time to deal with my bookkeeping and accounting and taxes. I need someone that can help me through that and help me grow. I'm willing to invest in that. Same thing, accountants who want to grow their business profitably should be willing to invest in something that's going to help them grow their sales, and that's marketing.
Right. Say the marketing or a salesperson, right?
Mhm.
Or both, or work both
Yeah,
of them working together.
yeah.
Um, so what do you find? I mean, again, because that's what your business is. Your business is
Mhm.
marketing, and certainly if somebody's listening to this and you need a person, reach out to Janelle at what is it? Is it Cajabra.com?
Janel at Cajabra.com.
Yeah. So, and that's Cajabra, right?
Yep.
.com. So, um, what does that process typically look like then? I mean, I'm sure there's got to be like a discovery phase
Mhm.
where
Yep.
you have to understand, all right, I'm X, I'm
Mhm.
here, and I'm trying
Yep.
to get to there. Um,
Yeah.
Typically, you build a plan based around where they're
Yeah.
headed. Is that
Exactly. Yeah. So everybody that comes to me, typically we start with a discovery meeting, and it's out on our website, kajabra.com. You can book a meeting anytime, 30 minutes. And basically, the most important thing for me is I want to understand, well, what are your goals? Where are you today? What's working for you? What isn't working? Where do you want to be? Are you trying to grow your business? Do you have so much business you don't know what to do with, and you're trying to figure out how to cull that business a little bit, or how to attract more monthly retainer business? I want to understand what the goals are, and I want to understand what you're already doing and where your holes are, where your gaps are, and then I can help them prioritize and put a plan together for what makes sense for them. And sometimes if it's, if someone already has a really good website and it's getting good results for them, by the way, a website should be a sales tool, should be converting. If it's getting good results for them, then fantastic. Then um, we look at doing some automation, some marketing automation, email automation, um, automating the reputation management, Google reviews, super important. And we also look at their the Google business profile. And then we
Great.
might even look at things like Google Ads, depending on what their budget looks like.
Okay. So how
Uh,
often when you go into a client or actually a prospective client, and you start asking those questions, what is it that you want to, where do you want to be a year from now? How often do you get like a very definitive answer of, oh, I've decided I want to be at, $1 million in net new revenue? Is that the answer, or is it usually, I don't know, I just know I need to grow?
Well, it's about 50-50. I would say there are a fair amount of firms out there who've kind of woken up and said, I don't want to be just compliance anymore. I'm giving away too much of my expertise for free. I'm at, whatever I am today, and I want to grow it by this much. That's fantastic. But I have other firms who, instead of just saying, I want to grow and I'm not sure how much, most of the time they'll say, what I really want to do is I want to grow my business clients because I'm tired of just doing tax returns. I want more than just tax returns. And in that case, then the first thing we have to sit down and think about is, all right, well, what does that ideal client look like? Do you have, and I always tell people how important it is to focus on your niche down. I've got a business coach who is absolutely amazing, and he says, niche down until it becomes a cheat code. And it's
Yeah.
absolutely true. If you think about it, um, accountants are used to taking, especially when it comes to compliance work, they're used to taking everything that comes through the door, right? So we don't want to turn away business. So niche to them is a little scary because it's like,
Mhm.
well, gosh, I don't want to only deal with dentists or veterinarians or restaurants because what about all these other people out there that might be good? Well, here's the thing. If you go and you have a cold or you're sick and you go to your general practice physician, that's great. That physician isn't going to make as much as a cardiologist or an orthopedic surgeon, right? So if you
Right.
specialize and you really entrench yourself in that niche, then you're going to have much higher value to that niche, much higher perceived value as well. And you can, then you can charge more. So the first thing we do is we really sit down and think about, okay, well, if you're one of those that wants to just grow based on the type of client that you want, well, then let's talk about that type of client and let's talk about the messaging that's going to resonate with them and what's important to them and what their triggers are and their problems, et cetera. And we usually begin there with that foundation, and then we move into, um, you know, where they're having success and where their gaps are, and then we can determine how to fill those gaps, whether it's their website or the Google business profile or automations that we need to put together, or any other tools or campaigns that we need to um, kick off to grow the business for them.
So the easy pushback is, I just don't have time.
Hmm.
So when you engage in a conversation with somebody, and that's the initial response is, I know I need to market, I just don't have time. But when
Hmm.
you start laying that out and start laying out a plan and start laying out a path, do you find that that the real pushback is that I don't I don't have the knowledge, or I'm hesitant because I don't know that I can do it well, or is it really I don't have time?
Um, I don't know that it's either of those. I think that when they say I don't have the time, it's I'm gonna kick the can down the road
Yep,
because I just don't want to deal with this right now. And unfortunately, that's not just accounting firm owners.
sure.
It's any busy business owner who's stuck on this never-ending hamster wheel, and they're gonna get burned out.
Yep.
They're just gonna get burned out. So I always tell people, look, if you don't have the time now, I completely get that. If you truly do want to grow your business, like you tell me you do, if you truly want more time freedom and financial freedom, you're gonna have to focus at some point on some level of marketing. And if now is not the right time, that's fine. I'm never pushy, and I want timing to be right for everybody. But the simple fact of the matter is they're going to have to do some level of marketing and or sales to grow. And if they don't have the time and they don't make the time, then they're going to be stuck on this never-ending hamster wheel of misery, right?
Right. Yeah. And maybe you grow by 5%, maybe you get lucky, you grow by 10%, or maybe you lose 20%. Right.
Yeah. And at
Um,
some point it becomes harder. It's like that equilibrium, right? Well, it's easier for me to run on this hamster wheel and just be in the weeds and be stressed and on my 17th cup of coffee at 11 o'clock at night and that kind of thing. But at some point that's not easier anymore. It takes a toll,
right.
right? It takes a toll on you, it takes a toll on your family. And then finally you can, instead of choosing that status quo, you can choose to change. And because if you're doing the same thing the same way every day, nothing's going to change until you take that little bit of a scary, painful leap to go, okay, I know I need to take a step back and I need to jump on board and you do something different and allow somebody to help me grow my business and help me put some marketing strategies in place that are going to work.
Yep. Perfect. Now, did we touch on any specifics? I can't remember now. It's been a good conversation, but did we touch specifically on a couple of tips during tax season to help identify those growth? I can't remember if we gave any kind of like really good bullet points,
Yeah.
like, hey, do these three things, right?
Yeah, I think that probably the biggest thing that I would tell people, and this is what I do tell people now, is make sure that as you're a couple of things. One, identify that book of business that you want to upsell,
Yep.
right? And make sure that you're working with them. You've either got a targeted email campaign that's going out to them, or that you've got them in your crosshairs so that you're having that tax return delivery meeting with them and booking an appointment with them post tax season.
Yep.
Another thing is if you're doing tax returns and somebody forgot to tell you something, because that happens every year, and all of a sudden it's
Right.
going to be this big surprise that they owe X amount and they had no idea and they're upset and they're frustrated and it's all your fault because you're the accountant, right? Then that's also an opportunity to say, listen, this should never be a surprise. It shouldn't happen. I can help you make sure this doesn't happen next year. So here's what we're going to do.
Yep.
I have a service package that I offer, and it includes, X, Y, and Z and your tax return. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to book a time in June. We're going to put it on the calendar now, and we're going to talk about the things that we can do in order to avoid this being a surprise for you next year. And then you get them in there in June, you do a nice sales presentation, and you get them committed to doing, that next level of service with you, whether that's a monthly retainer or whether that's just a higher amount for the tax return that includes a couple of planning meetings, doesn't really matter.
Right.
Those are some easy things to do. And then another thing that you can do, I would say a third takeaway is, put a referral program in place. If you've got
Mm,
the best client in the world that is, a small business owner who has a couple rental properties or whatever your definition of a perfect client is, maybe you're really trying to get into, veterinarians and you've got a really good one, put a referral program in place, give them some sort of reward for referring business to you. And then also never forget, and I always tell people, please ask for Google reviews during tax season. You should have an automated process and plan all year long, but at very
mhm.
bare minimum, when you're finishing doing someone's tax return or you're having a good conversation with them, ask them, do you mind going out and leaving me a quick Google review? Because 60% of people that you ask will absolutely do it. They just didn't think of it. You just have
Right.
to ask them and never feel bad about doing that.
Right. Okay, that's a great one. All right.
Mhm.
So let's wrap up with marketing talks looking out from here. I think we've got them scheduled. Again, I'm looking at the list here, scheduled through October. The again, this month is a website and how to update it,
Yep.
content strategy, why you need one, and how to build one. So
Yeah.
you mentioned like an email campaign
Yeah.
a minute ago. So what are you covering there? I mean, the title kind of says itself, but
Yeah.
any surprises in that?
Maybe a little. So we're going to talk about the different types of content that you should be creating as a CPA firm or as a bookkeeping firm. We're going to
Mhm.
talk about how to create one piece of content and repurpose it across several different places.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about how to use and how not to use AI to help you with some of the content creation.
Okay. And then which and content again, it could be written, could be video, could
Yeah.
be just a picture like you
Audio.
mentioned on your Google
Yep.
profile.
Mhm.
updating that. Okay, great. And then
Yep.
social media strategy hacks, how-tos, and not hyperventilating.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm not a big fan of spending my time on social media. We actually have a VA that does that for
Mhm.
us as a company. So what are you touching on there?
Mhm.
Anything?
So every accountant and bookkeeper that I've ever spoken with, they hate social media. I think it's overwhelming for them in some respects, and some of them just dislike it, period, and that's fine. But we're going to talk about not being overwhelmed by it and understanding where you need to be. So, depending on who your ideal client is, identifying what platform you need to be on and how to create a strategy from there and how to build a content calendar that is manageable. We're also going to talk about the importance of cadence. I've worked with firms who get all excited and they want to be everything. I need an Instagram, I need TikTok, I need this, I need that. You get all excited about it, but if it's not something that can be maintained consistently over a long period of time, you're going to get zero results and you're going to waste a lot of time.
Right.
So we're going to talk a lot about that too.
Okay. Then we'll do one more, and that is May email marketing, which
Mm,
is not dead,
that is my
right?
favorite topic.
And it's not dead at all. I mean,
No.
we've had people say, "Oh, email marketing's dead." No, it's not. I
Yeah.
get 1,000 emails, but I still open a lot of them.
Yeah, it's not only emailing, but we'll be talking about texting there as well. So, as an example, Gen Z, over 90% of Generation Z would rather enter into a text conversation than a phone conversation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, and so we're going to be talking about how to have those conversations, different tools that you can use for texting back and forth with clients, as well as email. But email strategy is so, so important. We're going to be talking about different types of email campaigns that you can create
Mhm.
that will keep you in front of prospective customers so that if you met with someone and you're like, oh, they'd be perfect, but they just didn't sign, it just may not be the right time for them. But you want to be that person that's in front of them when it is the right time. And I'm going to talk about how to do that.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's funny. I've both my sons are Eagle Scouts, and they moved on to college, but I'm still involved in our troop, and I work with the the guys who are trying to become Eagle Scouts. And what you just said is spot on because they don't check email, they don't look at email, but texting, you hit them with a text, boop,
Yep.
hear right back from them, regardless of the time of day, you'll hear back from
And I've got one bonus tip to wrap this up with, Gary. That is so true. So my oldest daughter is Gen Z, and she is a very successful entrepreneur. And she said to me this weekend, we were in the car talking, and my mom said to her, "Oh, it's your favorite time of year. It's tech." And she didn't get the word out of her mouth before my daughter's like, "Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. It gives me anxiety. I can't stand it."
them.
And she said to me, she's like, my accountant, he's good, but he scares me. He'll call me on the phone at 8 o'clock at night. My mom and dad don't even call me without a heads up on text first. So she said, accountants need to learn bedside manner. They need
That's
to
hysterical.
text you before they call. So, tip to accountants out there, if you're dealing with
Mhm.
any Gen Z business owners, text them. You will get a response so much
Right.
faster than if you call them.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's true. It's
Yep.
very, very true. So, all right. So, text or marketing talks is the 24th,
Seventh. Seventh, I think.
27th. Okay.
Mhm.
I know we've got a few events
Yep.
this month. So, at what's your time slot?
2 o'clock Eastern
Two
time.
o'clock. There we go. They're only 30 minutes, so you don't
Yep.
have to spend an hour.
Nope.
Just hop in, hear what Janelle has to say, and if any of the topics that we talked about that she's already done, they're archived on either our website or you can find them on our YouTube channel as well. Janelle, one more time, how do people find you?
Just go to the website, cajabra.com, which is Cajabra.com. And you can book an appointment with me there, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Janel Sykora, JanelSykora. You can find me on LinkedIn. And you can also email me, Janel@cajabra.com.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you. It was good catching up.
Thanks,
Happy New
Gary.
Year, although we're 6 weeks into it, but I
Yeah,
think this is the first time we've talked for more than like a minute. So
yeah,
happy New
that's flying
Year.
by.
And yeah, and we'll probably see you on the 27th, if in fact that is the day. So,
You got it.
all right. See you then.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janelle.
Bye-bye.
This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you by Out of the Box Technology. Out of the Box Technology is your partner in accounting data services. With over 7,500 industry migrations performed and an expansive network of third party integrations, A partnership with Out of the Box will augment your advisory practice and turbocharge client accounting operations. Visit outoftheboxtechnology.com/insightful-accountant to get started.